Yeah, I chose these clips. The first one I picked is a really cool conversation with the former six-time NWA World Champion Lou Thesz, who was the most gracious gentleman you would ever hope to meet. Both, in his ring persona and if you ever talked to him in real life, he was just a real classy gentleman. And one thing I liked about him, even in his advancing years, he was not one of those bitter old wrestlers. He was really into what was going on at the period, when this convention was getting started. And he was really looking forward to the convention too. And
Yes,
do you have any memories of Lou at that event?
Well, of course I do. I mean, he. I know when I asked for auction items, he brought a pair of socks. So, not something, not something really memorable, but
he really put his best foot forward, didn't he? Yes, he did.
he certainly did. And I know Lou appeared, like I said, tried to get everybody to appear on Pro Wrestling Spotlight in the weeks before. Lou graciously agreed, and I have to thank Don Liable. Donnie is the guy that really hooked me up with Lou, and Lou had made some appearances on the show. And when I was booking Weekend of Champions 1991, I was like, you have to have Lou Thesz there. And he agreed to come, and he came on the air to talk about it.
Well, we'll get to this right now. This is from July 28, 1991 in WGBB for you old-timer fans out there. Also on this episode, we had Paulie Dangerously, that smoothie Joel Goodhart with his tri-state announcements of what was happening, and Wade Keller was on the show, and I think Don Liable was on this show as well. So without further ado, let's see if we can get this clip up featuring the great Lou Thesz.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you in person, and you'll be at the Weekend of Champions Convention August 24th and 25th. Now, in your memory, has there ever been a time where all these ex-champions have ever assembled under the same roof for an autograph session of this type?
I don't believe so. I think this is a new format.
And you'll be with, obviously, seven-time champion Ric Flair and Buddy Rogers and Bruno Sammartino and so many others that'll be appearing there. Can you give us a quick memory of maybe yourself and Buddy Rogers? A lot of people don't seem to have liked Mr. Rogers.
Well, he was not a self-serving person, but he was a competitor, and he took care of himself, and I think he did a very good job. Very, very colorful. I think at that time he was probably the most colorful wrestler we had. Drew a great deal of money and had just a lot of fans around the country. Popular, either that or not too popular, unpopular. But he would take advantage of any opportunity and created some of the opportunities. And he didn't mind hurting people, that's the name of the game. And if you're not accustomed, or ready for that sort of mentality to wrestle against, you're in the wrong business.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Ric Flair as well, and he's been in the news these days. And what's your personal opinion on what's happening with World Championship Wrestling right now, losing a guy like Ric Flair?
I think two parties just agreed to disagree, that's all. And that's happened before in many athletes. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of bargaining for more money. And that's where it is, actually, what they call the root of all evil. It is not all evil, but Ric Flair is, at this time, at the twilight of his career, but I think he's in a very good position because so far as ability is concerned, he's out there with anyone. Mm-hmm. And it would be very difficult to second-guess him or even the Turner Group, Jim Herd, because if anyone that's ever been in business, there's only a certain amount of dollars to go around, and if it doesn't go around, you have to make cuts somewhere, which is happening in many industries all over the world. And it's just a matter of doing the best they can for themselves. And I have empathy for both of them. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those situations where they disagreed and they're going in separate directions. Flair will be fine because he's going to be in demand all over the world, and Turner will survive also. So that's Jim Herd is a bright guy, and so is Rick, and it's just one of those things. Maybe a personality clash. I don't know, but whatever. I wish them both well, and I think they both will do well.
Mm-hmm. I want to touch on one other subject with you. There's been a lot of press about professional wrestling over the last month and a half regarding the steroid issue, which certainly was not an issue when you were competing in the wrestling game. What is your opinion? What do you think the promoter should do about cleaning up the business right now?
Well, actually, it is not a promoter's job to oversee the intake or the eating habits of any of the athletes. If the athlete is in good condition, he can go out there and do the thing that he's supposed to do. Like if he's in good condition and he's booked to wrestle a certain fellow and he's ready to do it, that's the way to go. That's the promoter's job, to promote the wrestling, to get the right sort of exposure so that people are aware of what matches are coming up. However, so far as cocaine is concerned, many of them are testing for that. How much are testing for steroids, I don't know. But anyone that can read should certainly know that it's a threat to take these things, these controlled substances. And you got to pay for that stuff down the road somewhere. Billy Graham and many, many others are paying for it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because this has just now begun to come to light. And in the future, you're going to read a lot of things and learn a lot of things about the steroid situation, which there are many variations of, as you know. And as I said before, to repeat, they're going to have to pay for this down the road somewhere. You cannot yo-yo your body around like that with controlled substances and expect not to pay for it down the road. It's going to happen. I have empathy for these people, however, because, okay, let's say, for instance, here's a wrestler, a young wrestler. He's got in there, he's making anywhere from $20, $40, $50, $60,000 a year, maybe. All of a sudden, he sees contracts signed by some people that are humongous, and they've grown maybe 15, 20, 30 pounds in their upper extremities, and they look like, well, like a steroid freak is what they look like. But they look like a monster. Well, people love fantasy, and that's what they're going for. And if they can sign a contract, to see other people sign contracts for like maybe $250,000 or $500,000 a year, that's a pretty good lure, you know. And I can understand how a fellow might get on it and say, well, maybe I'll do this for a short time just to get some good contracts. But they never do. Their lifestyles change when they make more money, and a lot of things happen. And they get mousetrapped in a kind of a situation where they cannot back off, and that's the death knell, because that's what happens. You get hooked like in a salad, like, for instance, you know, they use another analogy. A little garlic in a salad is great, but if it's all garlic, it isn't good, you know.
Yeah.
And some of the people are using a lot more steroids than would normally be used. It's a useful drug in certain conditions, but it's got to be supervised really rigidly by a competent physician, and that's not what's being done. They're taking a lot more than they should, and of course they're hurting themselves down the road, and that's what's happening.
Okay, Lou. Listen, we appreciate the time.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Yeah, Lou. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Barely.
Okay, we're having a problem here with our microphone, Mr. Thesz. We appreciate you coming on the air with us today, and we'll see you in August at our Weekend of Champions convention.
I look forward to meeting all the other champions there, and it's going to be a great thing, and I think you have a great idea to bring all the guys together, and this should attract a lot of attention.
Well, we certainly hope it will, and
me too.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
But this clip with Lou, listening back to it with you, is just an incredible conversation with a guy who was one of the true historic legends in the history of the business.
No question about it. And what really impressed me about him was he was really up on that steroid stuff. He knew exactly, you know, the effects of steroids, why they were dangerous, and he just enunciated that so perfectly. Literally, you know what was about to unfold not too long after that.
Yeah.
So he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, and he was always very articulate every time he appeared on the show. I mean, he just articulate, and what a gentleman Lou was. You
know, all the years, as you know, after he retired, he stayed in the business. I remember him doing color commentary for Pedro Martinez's. Well, actually, no, it was when they were in the Carolinas for the IWA, which used to be on in New York. Right after that point, when they stopped being in New York, they continued on the Carolinas, and he did color commentary there. He did it for all kinds of promotions throughout his later years, and he was always great. He was just, there was nobody like Lou Thesz.
No.
He was one of a kind.
I agree.